Welcome back to another video, or if you are listening to this one, welcome back to the Unnatural podcast. I kind of want to bring an interesting observation, and this is going to build on something that I have posted yesterday on the podcast. And the first thing I want to say here is, I'm not sure if this ever happened to you guys, but have you ever been evoluting so fast that whatever version of you was talking just days or weeks before, you already surpassed that and you're like, what was she even saying? That's kind of what I'm experiencing now. It's not bad at all. It's just that I really needed to look at that version of myself and see where she was at versus where am I at. And the truth is that I am launching a program called The Art of the Approach. And what I'm doing right now is an anti-lunch video series. And in the anti-lunch video series, I want to talk about how this idea came to be and why it was very bad for me to try to explain this. Because one of the things that I think entrepreneurs, especially if you have background in marketing and sales, like my brain is literally trained to think, how do I position this? Like, how does it make sense? Like, how do I explain this to people so they understand it? Like I have all of that conditioning in my brain from prior work, from the things I do all the time for the clients I serve. Like that's kind of the language your cognition is trained to do. But what has been difficult for me is to explain something so people understand instead of talking about how this came to be. And I also talk to you guys about how all the layers of ego I had to shed to arrive to this clarity, okay? So if you guys are overthinking lunches or like, how do I do this? What the hell? Why do I like that thinking? Like, how do I position this? Like, I think if that's what you are doing because you're thinking so much about that, like this could be for you. But also I want to explain how my idea of the art of the approach came to be and everything else that went wrong about trying to convey this message to people. So in November this last year, I had an idea to talk about the art of the approach. And I wanted to talk about it in many ways, not because I have been experiencing getting approached all the time online, but because I have been experiencing it and I also have been approaching other people and I also have been seeing how this is. And I thought about, okay, like, can we do this better? Like, can this be done better? That was my initial idea. And what I also wanted to kind of the first layer of this conversation was, how do we approach people who are high caliber? And to me, high caliber does not mean status. It just means that you are someone who has higher standards, like the way you think is not an unusual way of thinking or expressing, like your entire being is not the average person. And since I have someone in my friendship circle who I have collaborated with, who I consider also high caliber, I reached out to her and I kind of told her like, hey, like, can we do an episode about this on the podcast? I feel like this conversation needs to happen, like in terms of how do we approach high caliber people. And she said, yeah, let's do it. But somehow it didn't happen because I think she was working on something and I was really feeling it in my body. I'm so glad we didn't do that episode because I came to realize was that like something about the high caliber wording did not sit well with me. And I also thought like, okay, why this doesn't feel good with me to talk about this or teach this. And I realized that it didn't feel good with me simply because I don't believe that only high caliber people, quote unquote, deserve to be approached with respect. I believe that that's everyone's basic human right. And also I didn't want to attract the people who are here to extract, manipulate. Like I don't think it would have attracted the right type of buyer because I thought, that's an ego thing to position this as for the high caliber. Even though our definition is different, I can't guarantee that that's how people will also see it. So it would have not been a good way to launch this. And it would have not attracted the right type of buyers. Not to mention that it didn't feel right in so many ways, to use this word. So I'm glad that didn't happen. But I remember going to the studio and the very first thing I've done was like this very specific scenario in which I heard a story of someone kind of stealing someone's personal phone number, just being so proud of that cold calling thing happening, and just getting to studio, like talking about that in a way that was very angry and condescending and like stop doing that to people. I even used the word boundary blind, which was like, I felt so good. And not like self-righteous, but low-key, there was just so much judgment on my part, and in which I wanted to explain to people, by the way, art of the approach is great. You guys should come. It seems like a good way to like contrast that with the way I see things and then be like, come to the program. But then it just didn't feel right, because I thought to myself, and by the way, those episodes never ever seen the day of light, ever. They're still unlisted on my YouTube channel. I was trying to like, let's ground this girl, because you are way too judgy. People will feel judged. And it's not my intention is to be like, oh, I'm the shit. That's bad, right? So that's what happened. And I was thinking to myself like, okay, I need to get more compassion for people who don't understand this. And I had to think about it. Has it ever been a time where I also cold called people? Yes, there has been. I had 2 jobs. My very first job, I was cold calling people. And my second job, I was cold calling people. I was working in inside sales, and I had to sell stuff in the healthcare industry. I think microscopes and machines to doctors. And the first job, it was telco industry, and had to set up meetings. It was some sort of an appointment setter job. And I did that. Like, I got the script, and even though I was trying to like circumvent this, I was trying to email them instead of calling them. Like, I was at some point one of that person who was cold calling people. That was me. And yes, it didn't feel right, but that was the job, and you kind of do it. And the script obviously doesn't help, so you kind of think about what you're gonna say instead of saying what they're gonna say. So I did try my best, but truthfully, I didn't know any better. I knew that was the job. I was 24 or 25. And that's what I did. So, like, who am I to judge people who think that's great? It doesn't mean that it's bad. It means that it didn't work for me. Like, I knew I hated phone calls. And that was kind of my own litmus test. Like, okay, like when it comes to approaching people, online or in person, how would I like to be approached? Like, what requests would I say yes to? And what makes me go recoil in my body and say no? And I know phone calls is not one of them that works for me, because my phone is on Do Not Disturb. And what I have also been thinking, and this, guys, the story itself is like much more rich, and it had like more ego layers that I needed to shed in order for me to be cleaning this as much as it could, like not bashing the industry. But what I also talked about in my second video was the fact of like talking about people cold emailing, cold DMing, and how they go from level 1 to just sending you a script, they don't care, like they are just sending it to everyone, to like doing mild research, to then doing a more advanced research, and how that approach is even more advanced. Like, even that was something I talked about, and this never got published either. And it's not because that's not valuable, but that it goes, again, I'm falling into that's bad, this is good. Like, I'm trying not to do that. It's not about that at all. And so I had to shed that layer as well, just not criticizing people, criticizing the industry, not criticizing behaviors I've also been a culprit of doing when I didn't know any better. But then I have to think about what is about this work that matters to me, and what do I really want to communicate with it. And it was about becoming a person who is well received. And that's when I started to shift from how do I get to this, like what do I say, how do I position, like how do I move, like even in terms of the program itself, but within the program of how do we. That's what most people are thinking. But it then became of like, okay, so when it comes to being well received, like not just how do I become a person that is well received, even though that's an orientation of the art of the approach, but then also then how do I become a person that's well received plus autonomous at the same time. And then that on a deeper layer becomes of how do I actually build fields with people in which they can return to any time, and they know that in my presence what they can expect. And I think it's interesting to me because I just been having conversations with people yesterday, today, as I'm deepening the conversation of the work itself, and they were saying, well, I hate that I have to message people and I have to be on my phone all day on an appointment setting, or I hate that I don't like to approach, it's gross, like I don't like it. And in my mind I'm thinking, well, I never thought of myself as someone who's annoying, like genuinely, and I enjoy conversations with people, and I don't think my presence is annoying. Like I don't think it is. Like I don't think if you and I were having a conversation in person that you will be annoyed, burdened, bored out of your head, wanting to walk away screaming, get me out of this conversation. Like I never thought about that in my presence. And it's not because I have like inflated ego, it's just that I knew that I had presence, And I knew that I enjoyed connecting with people. And if I didn't enjoy connecting with people, and if it wasn't genuine, that I wouldn't be approaching them. I never thought approaching people was an issue. I never thought going first was an issue, precisely because I never thought my presence was a burden or that was annoying or pissing people off. And even I think people say, well, I have to build relationships with people. And again, falling into judgment. Like, I'm trying not to. But it's not about, oh, I have to build relationships with people. Like, that becomes chore. Like, do you see how when I say I have to build relationships, I guess I have to say, how is it going for you? And I don't care how is it going for you. I cannot do that. I cannot possibly fake that I care when I don't care. I cannot be like, oh, this is such a great thing that you wrote. It's not. I cannot fake that. That matters as well. So working on the presence of who you are, and not because of the outcome that you're after. The outcome is a byproduct of who you are when you're approaching people. But really, on a deeper layer, what has been true to me is I just knew that because I knew how it feels to be approached in the ways that I didn't like and didn't feel good in my body, and I experienced it, I got all of it. And how I recoiled and I got guarded because of that. I knew that because of my own standards of how I want to be treated, I will just start treating people with the same respect. And if you like that approach and you think it's great and you think my presence is great and this is good, that's good. I don't do it so you think, oh, well, this girl is something else. Like, that's not why I do it. It's because my own standards with myself of like how I would want this to be if I was on the receiving end of it. And I want to talk about impact before I let you go. And because I think many people, they don't understand their impact. And it's not because it's bad. I think it's just we just don't understand our impact. We don't know how impactful we really are. Like how we can shape people's days. Like how when someone is hitting you with a call that you didn't want to have, or someone is hitting you with something that you just like, come on now, another one, right? Like how that makes people feel. It's that we just don't understand like how we are being received. And to me, that mattered because of my own standards of how I would see this if it was me in their shoes. Like how would that, and that obsession of how am I going to impact the person and just wanting to be cognizant of that mattered to me. And if you like that, that's good. I didn't do it to be liked. I did it because it was true for me. And I did it because that's what I would have wanted if this was something that happened to me. So when it comes to impact, I think what people don't understand is that I say this analogy inside of yesterday's recording. You guys can hear the raw version of it as it came through me last night. I was in bed, very glorious place. That's my favorite place. And so I think because not many people are cognizant of their impact and how they arrive into someone's inbox or how they arrive in someone's, like when they call, or I think because of that, I think that's when we are mismatching, we are hitting people the wrong way, we are creating resistance, we are creating that residue that doesn't feel good in their body and in yours either. Like I think on a nervous system level, if your approach is not clean, and we'll talk more about that in the art of the approach itself, you feel it in a nervous system level, like it doesn't feel good in your body. Like, I mean, at least it doesn't work for me. Like it doesn't feel good. And I don't think that will feel good in whoever is on the receiving end of this one, okay? So Art of the Approach starts February 1st, 2026. This is priced at $47. This is the first time I'm delivering this live. So you guys can come. I'm going to put a link in the description. Once you are securing your seat, you will get added to a Facebook group. Actually, what will happen is you will receive an email confirmation in which you'll find a link to come and request access to join the Facebook group. And this is a live program. I'm going to deliver it on February 1st, and you will have lifetime access. You will get the recordings. It will always be there. And whenever new modules and this evolution happens will be added, they will all drop inside of the same Facebook group. Okay? So you will have lifetime access. You can watch the recordings back. I think we're looking at least 3 modules that will drop inside of the program right off the bat. And I will tell you exactly when each module will be delivered. For now, I know for sure February 1st, 6 p.m. Central European is going to be our first module. Okay? So if you want to come, if this is something that feels aligned for you, because it feels good in your body. You want to understand it. I have a sales page in which you can find all the final details of the program itself. You can go ahead and read that and think about it. I'm honored and excited to be teaching this to people. Okay, so thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will see you guys very soon.